So I thought in this show we'd do a deep dive of Williams because it was great to see them both back in the points once again. They're on great form. They've got two fantastic drivers in that team and they're amongst the big boys, which is a bit of fun. But let's have a look at how their races unfold. First of all, on board with Carlos Sainz at the race start, and it's very, very hairy stuff for him. Right in amongst the Mercedes, out-qualifying the Ferraris. It's a great, optimistic time for the Williams team. But it almost ended in tears straight away. So you've got Norris going off. He splashes through a puddle as he comes back on. Still a bit of moisture around. You can see it just there. And he's going to come back on right into the path of Carlos just behind. Carlos can go around him, but he's got his own teammate there, Alex Albon, being quite opportunistic around the outside of him. And there's contact between the two Williams. So a really good starting position might have ended up with both cars in the fence right at the start. And this is absolutely sensational car control from Albon to actually keep it out of the barriers and save really both of their bacon here. I don't think Sainz does a lot wrong. He's in the wrong place at the wrong time. We saw in the last race how Hadjar managed to sweep around Lawson when there was a kerfuffle on the opening lap as Tsunoda was in the wall. Albon's basically doing the same thing. And if you can become the lead car, it can give you good advantages and strategy in the race. Goes around the outside and look at that amount of opposite lock with a barrier just there. It's a brilliant hold. And with everything else going on, we didn't even notice it at the time. But they got away with it and could use the pace of their car to go and fight with some of the front runners.
I thought I had damage from turn 3 and I was kind of a little bit in limbo about what's going on with the car. I kind of got into a rhythm and then I think Carlos used up his tyres and I knew I had pace and I was... Well, we were under threat from the Ferraris behind us and I just wanted to get on with it.
But the first thing they had to do was fight amongst themselves. So we've got now Sainz behind Albon after that bit of contact. But in the early laps, Albon's struggling a little bit for grip. And we come through turn 8 and he's just well wide of this apex, struggling to turn it in. And this exit here is critical. It's really probably the best overtaking chance for the rest of the race. DRS is open earlier this year and Carlos manages to line himself up. And it's a nice slam dunk pass because Alex made the mistake there at turn 8. And it's a critical one to lose out when you lose the exit, especially when DRS is in play. So Carlos makes the move around the outside and takes the place. And there you see your front runners just ahead. So Williams very much in the fray here. But there's an interesting moment later on. After this, you've got Sainz ahead of Albon as they were in Jeddah. And they're told basically to keep hold of positions. Albon doesn't do this. He thinks he's got better pace and he goes for it down the inside and makes the move stick. And this is going to be critical for his race to not be stuck behind his teammate because he actually had better pace during the Grand Prix. But it's an interesting call and you can see Sainz isn't expecting it. He's on the radio, he's pressing buttons on the wheel, suddenly looks over in his mirror and he's got his teammate down the inside. And by this point, it's too little too late. He was told not to worry about Albon, but through he goes. So, slightly tetchy moment for the Williams drivers at this point. The only thing for Albon now is he's got to go ahead, got to pull away and show that actually he was the better driver on the day and it didn't make sense to hold positions. It's the only way to justify this sort of action. But justify it, I think he did. It was a fantastic race from Albon and you can see his pace in that first stint as well was really, really strong. So compared to George Russell, who's our eventual podium finisher, Albon's actually right with him at the time of the pit stop, and by pitting that bit earlier before he could benefit from the safety car, cost himself a shot of coming out right with Verstappen as well, potentially also jumping the Red Bull at the pit stops. But the pace of the Williams was really good, and that's shown as well by the end of the stint, the second stint in clear air. He loses a little bit of time to the Mercedes and the Red Bull, Russell and Verstappen, who are pushing each other lap on lap really hard because the gap between the two was really never greater than 2 seconds. So they're giving it everything. And Albon, he loses a little bit of time, but it's just a couple of seconds over a really long stint. So very, very encouraging for Williams. And even more encouraging was a pass on a Mercedes for Alex Albon. A really nice move this on Kimi Antonelli. Albon pins him to the inside, switches to the outside line, and it's a little bit like the Piastri move on Verstappen, but a bit neater on both sides. Antonelli without the big lock-up, but Albon sees this one coming, and it's a nice setup. Manages to make sure Kimi's right on the inside line, where it's a little bit dustier, dirtier, and then he's not able to stop the car efficiently, and Alex can sneak back through down the inside. Meanwhile, his teammate was having a really nice pass on his former teammate as well, Carlos Sainz on Charles Leclerc. And I really like this move. This was a great few seconds for Williams, as both their cars made passes, one on a Mercedes, one on a Ferrari. And this one is down the inside from Sainz. So on the hard tyre, feeling confident against the Ferrari, and it's a nice dummy pass, which is nice to see as well, managing to get Leclerc to think he's got the inside covered. Carlos then dives to the inside and makes it stick. Late on the brakes, committed, put a nice clean pass. Didn't last for long between those guys, and we're going to have a look at that in a moment. Let's start with the move that Leclerc finally puts on Carlos. It's a nice pass from Charles. He manages to set it up through the final couple of corners. Lewis Hamilton almost passes both of them, but in the end also passes Sainz, who can't do anything. And I really like the racecraft and the respect between these two drivers. You've got Sainz on the inside, Leclerc on board with a chance at the end of the VSC, goes to the outside line, and there's just enough racing room given for each of them. There is a wall on the exit. So if Sainz technically could have rolled off the brakes, he would have been plummeting his former teammate into the barriers. And now Leclerc has the inside line for turn one. Could Sainz have possibly covered that? I don't think he really could have done without probably instigating a collision there. So that gives Charles the inside line. And from here, he's not going to miss that one. And by going in deep, kept Carlos Sainz out wide and allowed Lewis Hamilton through as well. So a double whammy for Ferrari, and a move that kept Carlos Sainz at bay and a bit frustrated in the second Williams.
I picked up damage in turn 3 with Alex at the start with a slight contact. So I just made my first stint obviously very, very difficult with the used tire and the damaged car. Still tried to hold on for my life with obviously faster car around me. And we were one of the first ones to stop. That gave a much shorter pit stop time to all the cars that stopped three laps later with the VSC. And in the end, I was vulnerable again. I tried to do everything to stay ahead of the Ferraris, but with the damaged car and the situation of having boxed earlier and fresher tires for them, it was very difficult. But that's why I'm frustrated. And today I felt like we should have scored bigger points.
But the interesting thing here is how the VSC really helped Leclerc pull this move off, because actually Sainz was in the clear after his first pass on Leclerc. On the left-hand side, you've got the position of Charles Leclerc. As the VSC is deployed, he's a fair way back, not in a position to make the move, and they're coming into turn 1. Now, we've got the VSC ending, and it's in the perfect place for Leclerc. Coming out of turn 16, long straight coming up, and you've got, if there's not DRS, there's a long slipstreaming opportunity, and look how much closer he gets, reading the end of this VSC period really well. He's super close, much closer than on the left-hand side when the VSC was deployed, and suddenly Sainz is into a defence that he was never going to have to make on the left-hand side. And this is the setup for the eventual move for Leclerc. So a little bit fortunate maybe with the VSC timing, a bit fortunate with where it finished for him as well, right at the start of a great overtaking opportunity, but a nice execution nonetheless, and really well read from Charles there to make the pass on a difficult day for Ferrari.
It's not good. We need to do better, and we are in a difficult situation at the moment. So I just hope we can turn that situation around as soon as possible.